Well, it's not necessarily where you want to see a price cut. The latest Case-Shiller Home Index shows a drop year over year and month over month. 6 different cities now seeing record low home prices. And this despite countless billions spent by the government to bolster the home market. Real estate pro Greg Rand says it's just more proof that the government needs to stay out of the housing market. Greg, these numbers just they're absolutely amazing. It's like a bottomless pit.
It seems to be, and it's true that the government intervention, one after the other, has had unintended consequences that does make the situation worse each time. And so I'm praying that they'll just maybe stay away for a while and let this thing go the course that it wants to go.
I mean, we're talking about the $8,000 first-time home buyer tax credit. Now, I've looked at the numbers. I know if you bought a new house this year, January, February, even with $8 grand, you're already technically losing money.
That's true, and the boomerang effect that we had on the homebuyer tax credit is that it worked great. Okay, we had a big boom in home sales in the first part of the year, but instead of giving us a tipping point where things got better, consumer confidence got better, what we got was a roller coaster ride. Home sales went way down in the summertime, and people read that as a double-dip recession in the housing sales market. So it's another example of where the unintended consequence of that was we had a rush of sales, and then we had a major decline in sales, and it blows confidence in the market.
But what do you think? I mean, politicians know, first of all, the housing market has been the epicenter of this entire collapse of our economy. Secondly, politicians and housing, that's the 1-2 punch. If you can somehow get the price to go up, get more home ownership. So is there any likelihood that the government will step out of the way?
I don't know. But you know what, I was coming down here trying to think of an analogy that was apropos of this. And it's like going out on New Year's Eve, having a ripping party, waking up the next morning with a splitting hangover, and then doing tequila shots to try to see if you can get rid of the hangover. If you go back to your college days, you know that works for a little while, and then it comes back double down. So I don't know if they're going to stay clear of it. I know that they're probably a little bit gun-shy right now because they've seen every promise they've made. For example, telling people that if you can't pay your mortgage, you're a victim. The banks are the villains. You're a victim. We're here to help you. And then 90 days later, mortgage defaults went up. And they were surprised by that. They didn't realize that they did it again. They gave an incentive to do the wrong thing.
Well, some of these programs, the next morning after New Year's, it wasn't tequila shots. The government's taking shots at kegs. I mean, they're just knocking them back. I mean, over $20 billion or so on this so-called HAMP program, Home Affordable Mortgage Program. Also now the problem, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the only game in town. We need to get private business into the mortgage business. No?
Very true. Very true. Don't forget, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac represent 90% plus of all the mortgages that have been done for the last 10 years. And they're the ones that when they lowered their lending standards and said, don't prove your income, don't put a down payment down, you can basically get a blank check, that's where the whole ball got rolling. But now, if you're a major lender, you're being told by the government, lend money, okay? Get money out of the vault, lend money. The next day they're telling you, if you don't get paid back, you can't foreclose. And so if you're a lender and you don't have recourse, you can't be in that business. And so it's, again, they want to see if they can encourage private sector players to come in and pick up some of the slack, but I wouldn't go near that if I was a private sector player.
We just got a few seconds, but do you think ultimately we're going to have to get back to something akin to that reckless behavior? In other words, 5% down to really get the housing market turned around?
I don't think so. You know what? We're talking about real estate in America. The demand is there. Shelter, okay, over your head, demand is there. The American dream, demand is there. There's demand for this. If they stay out of the way, it's going to take time for this foreclosure inventory to burn off. It's going to take time for confidence to come back. We're going to see home prices down again next year, most likely because of the foreclosure inventory. But if we let a year or two pass and just stay out of the way of this, the market will then stabilize, recover, and we'll have a revival down the line.
All right, Greg. Government, stay out of the way.
That's it.
Let's hope.